A fine crescent moon rose above the tiny crucifix that adorned the dome of St. Sergius. The symbolism was apt. Ryan stared around, sensing the danger. They were parked in a side street 3 minutes from the hushed white walls of Coptic Cairo. Despite the curfewed calm of these deserted streets, the disturbances were miles north. The place felt surrounded, besieged and frightened in the darkness, and perhaps facing its final doom after 2,000 years of remarkable survival. Hannah pointed. "Here's my contact." Albert's friend was a Coptic youth of maybe 14 or 15. The boy's expression was mute and defensive, but he led them through the shadows to a decrepit wooden door, set low in the perimeter walls. "Hurry," said Callum. "Hurry up!" The boy fumbled nervily with an enormous set of keys. At last the door swung open, and they slipped inside. Ryan stared around. The Coptic boy had brought them to a Christian graveyard behind the churches. Large marble angels stared at the crescent moon. Columns and pilasters recessed down pathways. A faint scent of dead flowers perfumed the normal Cairo smells of sewage and pollution and cooking oil. Their protectors stopped inside the gate. Callum snapped an order. "You guys go. We'll wait here. Do what you have to do, but do it quick." Hunched low, Albert, Helen and Ryan followed the boy along the gravel path that slalomed between the tombs and mausoleum to the old buildings of Coptic Cairo. Dead faces in monochrome photos affixed to the more recent graves stared at them in disappointment as they slunk past. Helen had her camera switched on, filming their progress. Ryan squinted ahead, trying to make out their direction. He'd been here once before as a young man. He'd walked this labyrinth of ancient passages and cobbled lanes, bewildered but seduced. By night, the ambience was more troubling. "Asre, onsor!" The Coptic youth was beckoning them into the very deepest shadows, between two high old walls, presumably the walls of monasteries. The moonlight was just sufficient for them to follow his progress, beyond another corner past a brace of grim and shuttered tourist shops, where a more modern church rose up abruptly. It had no doubt been erected on the footings of a previous church, which was built on a synagogue, which was built on a Roman temple of Mithras, which was built on an Egyptian temple of Isis. Ryan swooned a little in his thoughts as they approached this precipice of religious history, this vertiginous drop through time and faith. It was simultaneously marvellous and unnerving. Coptic Cairo was like an exposed fossil bed, showing the strata and the evolution, the fishes, then the dinosaurs, then the mammals. It gave him the same rhapsodic vertigo he'd felt in Sahara when he was happy, when he was a younger and better man, when his wife was pregnant, when they'd walked together in the sunset by the Djoser Pyramid, when they'd kissed. "Ryan!" It was Helen, grasping his shoulder. He shook his head. "I'm fine." But was he? "Let's get this done." They followed the boy once more until Albert pointed at a small but handsome stone building beyond a railing. "The Synagogue of Ben Ezra." The boy unlocked the railing. They crept quietly along the path and slipped inside the synagogue. Scratching a match into flame, the boy lit some candles, his hands shaking. Ryan picked up and carried his candle in its little candle tray like a Victorian rector roused from sleep in his nightshirt. In the guttering candlelight, he plodded the aisles, scrutinizing the bejeweled and evasive interior of Ben Ezra Synagogue. The glow of his candle showed Ottoman carvings in cedarwood and marble, palmettos and lotus flowers, rich and sensuous and distantly sad. The Jews of Cairo had gone. All the Jews of Egypt fled, making this more of a mausoleum than a living building. But why had Macarius come here? "Albert?" Hannah materialized from the shadows. "Albert, tell me, this place, the history, the synagogue. It is 9th century, but it is adapted from a church that is older, maybe 8th century? But our papyrus is probably 6th. So, if he came here, he didn't see this." Hannah nodded. "C'est vrai. Where is the spring where Moses was found? I'll show you." The spring was behind the building. Outside, the candle in his hand guttered and died in a firm nocturnal breeze. Ryan stared down. The great and famous